Hello, welcome to this video. Today, I'm finally going to reveal to you guys my top 25 albums of 2021. I've been waiting all year to do this list because this year has been a lot of good albums out. So let's just start. Number 25, Memoryland by CFCF. The cover looks cool. I remember I saw it chart in Realmn Music early of this year, but it's no longer charted in the top 100 now, sadly. But I just like electronic albums, and this is a cool and somewhat underrated one. I just like how varied it was, but still somewhat cohesive. Like there was this one song called Punk Song, which was a bit like shoegazy rock, and then there's some very long songs full of cool electronic breaks. Also really liked Heaven, which had a feature of Sarah from Caro Bonito. Number 23 and 24 are two albums made by the same artist, Goth Lipstick. Pretty cool band, quite underrated. Like I said, you should check them out. Both albums, while short, provide some nice glitch pop and are promising debuts from that band. 22, Drive-By Lullabies by Osquinn. I did a previous full review on it. I gave it an 8. You can go check out that review. I go more in depth about it, but really like this promising debut from her and looking forward to what she produces next. Number 21, To Hell With It by Pinkpantheress, though technically a mixtape and pretty short. I'm going to count it as an album here because it's a good collection of songs, and also Pinkpantheress is known to have short songs in discography. It just seems like everyone likes Pinkpantheress, from TikTok users to Realmn Music users, which are probably like the most polarizing of music tastes if you can think about it. Pinkpantheress just has some catchy tunes and has infectious melodies and production. Number 20, Juno by Remi. Just a great collection of indie pop songs and just a very promising indie pop artist in general. I really liked her EP in 2020, was it I'm Allergic to Dogs, and it was really cool that she came up with a debut album that turned out to be really well put and together, and has some really nice melodies. I like the bass too. Favorite track has to be Sexy Villain. Number 19, Dariacore by Leroy, aka DLTZK. I don't know how you would pronounce that. I mean, sometimes I pronounce it Dlitzk in my head, but I'll just I don't know. So Leroy is, I honestly prefer the Leroy projects over the DLTZK stuff, because it's an interesting genre scene that they accidentally created. It's like a mix of plunderphonics and hyperpop. It's just very overstimulating, but somehow good. It can sound awful at first, but I will be cranking that up no matter what. Number 18, Screen Violence by CHVRCHES. Not the biggest CHVRCHES fan. I've only listened to Mother We Share. This is probably the first CHVRCHES album I listened, but I've heard a lot about them. And for some reason I hear people like comparing them to KKB, and I don't think they're that comparable just because they're 3 members and the vocalist is a girl. That's like the only similarity. And also they make like synth pop. Yeah, but like I like Screen Violence. Like my favorite track is Violent Delights. That song is pretty good and goes hard. I thought Reading My Rights was like as in rights as in what you have as a person, but no, it's rights as in RITES, so yeah, that's something. 17, Silk Sonic's An Evening with Silk Sonic. I didn't like how long the rollout was. They really dropped leaves the door open at like March, and then the album dropped in November. So that was like, let's say, 8 months of a rollout. That was kind of painful. And though the album's pretty good, it's only 9 tracks long. I mean, all of them just really nice, smooth soul, pop, R&B. It's blended together pretty well. Catchy. I liked it. It's pretty fire, but yeah. Kind of knocked it down my ranking a little. But I still like it, you know? Number 16, Jubilee by Japanese Breakfast. I think I finished her discography this year. Well, she has 3 albums, and this is obviously her best album to date. I wasn't that into Psychopomp, and her second album, Soft Sounds from Nip, somewhat better, but I wasn't that into. But Jubilee is great. Paprika's amazing, and her lyrics are like poetry. And also, like, I like the rock-ish instrumentations with the pop melodies. It sounds pretty good. And another promising artist for indie pop and alternative pop. Number 15, Sensational by Erika de Casier. I don't know how to pronounce that, but some really nice R&B, just all around. It's pretty, her songwriting though, like, kind of immature-ish. It's fun, simple. I could get into it. And she just seems like a pretty underrated artist in general. And I liked it. Sorry, I am improvising right as I go here. Number 14, Lingua Ignota's Sinner Get Ready. Fantano gave that a 10. I think I listened to it after, but not because Fantano gave it a 10. It's interesting, quite the experience. Thing is, you kind of have to be in a certain mood to immerse yourself into it fully, but the experience is overall just breathtaking. I would give it, the thing is, the reason it's kind of ranked somewhere in the middle rather than pretty high up, I mean, for the experience and listening through it, it's like a 9, but it doesn't have much replay value to me because it's fairly long and it's sort of proggy and not that accessible, so the replay value is like a 4 or 5 to me, so that's why I kind of bumped it down to an overall 8. So this is my opinion. But yeah, overall, it's a crazy experience. You should immerse yourself in at least once. Number 13, Trico's Joteki. Looking forward to this album because the single Inai was really good and probably one of my favorite songs of the year. Okay. It's my favorites, and it's just like how I liked how they dipped into a harder rock sound, and I wanted to see them more experiment with that type of sound. And I like how, while they did keep their basic like sounds and melodies, they kind of did like vary a bit more, and overall was pretty cohesive. I think it's my second favorite Trico album, and also the cover is so cute with the dog. I like it. It's probably my second favorite cover of the year. Let's see, my favorite cover of the year. Number 12, Nurture by Porter Robinson. Nurture, great electronic album. And was it, I guess, 7-year comeback for him? It's crazy. I remembered when he made Shelter. That was pretty viral over the internet. And I really love Musician, which is definitely my favorite track, and I just keep coming back to that track. To be honest, I barely re-listened it and came back to it as much as going back to Musician, but overall it's growing on me and really like it. To be honest, it's a bit long for my taste for an electronic album, but I overall really like it, and looking forward to going back to the tracks like Musician and Unfold and Look at the Sky. Those are some great tracks, and I think singles. Number 11, Troubled Paradise by Slayyyter. I did a full review. I was anticipating this album, though it fairly did deliver it for a time. I don't know how well it's aged, because I've seen some mixed reception of it, but to be honest, I think it's a bit overhated, and I still like it. I like how varied some of the songs are, but I like how it pulls together and creates a troubled paradise, as they would say. Number 9 and 10. This is both made by the same artist, DJ Sabrina, the Teenage DJ. I really liked Charmed, the 2020 album, and they dropped 2 albums at the same time, which is the Makin Magick 2 album and The Other Realm. When I first listened to both of them, I honestly preferred The Other Realm a bit more, because I like the varied direction it went compared to like her other discography. It's kind of crazy that each of DJ Sabrina's albums are like 2 to 3 hours long, so you kind of need a lot of patience for it, but the experience is just great because you can just, vibe to it or just immerse yourself to it, or it could just be background music. Overall, it's just a nice experience anyways, even if my brain feels like mush at the end. Sometimes if I listen to too much music, I just feel like mush, so that's why I prefer shorter albums, but overall it depends on the execution. I digress. Let's move on. Number 8, Cutie Marks and the Things That Bind Us by Violet Pony. I got introduced to Violet Pony this year because of the Rachel music fiasco around it, where it charted at number 1, and a bunch of users were kind of mad, so they kind of downrated it, but overall, I still like it. It's some EDM, pop, rock, everything, all the different types of electronic music kind of bundled into that album. Honestly, probably Violet's best work as some of the albums I've heard. So, I did listen to Violet's past albums since Cutie Marks, only like the past 3 albums of hers. They are pretty good, but yes, I think Cutie Marks good, and I'm looking forward to the next album. Was it Fish Whisperer? That is exciting. And no, I'm not listening to singles, so I want to go into that album blind. Number 7, To See the Next Part of the Dream by Parannoul. It is a cool-ass shoegaze album. To be honest, I kind of got introduced to shoegaze of that year, and it's a cool genre. It's interesting that Korean shoegaze exists, which I would not have expected, but it touched me the first time I listened to it, and I've ordered a cassette of it. Hope it arrives eventually, and that it ships. And I'm glad I got a cassette, because they sell out pretty easily on Bandcamp. Number 6, Stand For Myself by Yola. It's a great modern country album. If you think country music sucks, just listen to it. It's great. Some nice melodies. I like the production. And she's got pipes, man. Pipes. I was actually looking forward to seeing her nominations, since she got 2 for the Grammys, which is pretty great. But overall, I think this album might prove someone wrong if they think all of country sucks. Number 5, A Tiny House in Secret Speeches, Polar Equals by Sweet Trip. Looking forward to the Sweet Trip album, as I just got into them before this album came out, which was just in time, because this is such a long comeback since 2009 with You Will Never Know Why. Both Velocity, Design, Comfort, and You'll Never Know Why are just phenomenal albums. They've so far got a pretty consistent discography, and I think this new album lives up to those 2 pretty well. liked how it kind of blends the two with, like, you know, the indie pop melodies of You Will Never Know Why, and some parts of glitchiness and electronic experimentation of Velocity Design Comfort. So I kind of like that, the blend between the two, and overall just also some new stuff in it too. It's pretty long and all, but worth it. I mean, Sweet Trip albums are long, but worth it. Number 4, Forever in Your Heart by Black Dresses. I like Black Dresses, and their discography, I'd say, is pretty cool. I mean, Peaceful as Hell was one hell of an album. One of my favorite, now it's probably one of my favorite albums of all time, if I'd have to say. Forever in Your Heart, also phenomenal. Peace Sign, probably one of my favorite songs of the year, and I'm glad they're back on Spotify, so I can just listen to them. I almost have their discography on Bandcamp. I just never bothered to get Thank You. But yeah, I think it's my favorite cover of the year. It just looks hella metal, hella cool, hella fresh. You know what I'm saying? And I just like how extreme, polarizing, and atmospheric the album is, because it stood out to me first listen. I was kind of scared. It was actually the first Black Dresses album I listened to, and quite the introduction grew on me a ton. Number 3, The Turning Wheel by Spelling. I just want to say, I listened to this album before Fantano did his review. So yes, it does make me feel better. It's like a pretty strong 9 to me, and one of my favorite albums right now. I could see a bit of the Kate Bush influences with her voice, and though I've listened to Spelling's past albums, they don't really interest me as much as Turning Wheel, because I think like she kind of snapped with like the luscious and grand production with her like high vocals. I think she just found the right spot on the vocals, because her vocals before were pretty different, and like the production seemed pretty minimal compared to Turning Wheel. Like she went all out for a Turning Wheel, and it was executed almost perfectly, which is great. Number 2, Little Simz, Sometimes I Might Be an Introvert. Loved her last album, Gray Area. I was looking forward to this because this was, I'd say, a pretty long rollout for this album. It came out in like September. This single, Introvert, came out in like early 2021. So I remember when I first listened to the single, it just surprised me, shocked me. So good. This album is probably one of my recent 10s, actually. It's 10 to me. And it's so cohesive. Her flow, production, it's grand, immaculate. Just overall very good. And my album of the year, Mercurial World by Magdalena Bay. Did a full review. It was just me praising it for almost 10 minutes straight. Just pop perfection and great production through and through. Flawless. Just phenomenal. They really popped with this one, as I was looking forward to their debut album. With their little mini EPs and mixtapes, they got a consistent discography, but still this one's great. Another 10. And if you were asking me what my project of the year is, because there's another thing that shares the number 1 spot, which is Civilization by Caro Bonito. I slightly like that project a little over Mercurial World. But if you're asking me album of the year, it will be Mercurial World, project of the year, Civilization, which is a compilation of both the Civilization projects with like under a minute interlude that they added. So overall, I just love the Civilization era of Caro Bonito. They've got such a consistent discography to me. Like all of their albums are 10s. So is Civilization. I just love Cara Pinto, man. So this is my favorite albums of 2021, yeah.